Hi, my name is Simon. This is Maria. This is Thomas.
Hello.
And we are usually streaming different things on this channel, but today we're here as tutors from our university, the University of Klagenfurt. Sorry, I never know what name I should use because there's like 5 different ones. Anyway, we are game design students or game studies students, and what we're doing usually throughout the semester is we're hosting game labs. And game labs are usually ways of talking about games, also making games. We discuss theory. We do different things in these game labs, and they're all related to games. And since current times don't allow for that, we decided to throw it online and to host a stream here and try it out and try how it goes. So today's topic is ethics in video games, and we chose the game. Well, you know more about the game. There you go.
Yeah,
she chose the game, so she has to do this.
I chose the game. The game is called Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. And
You have to talk a little louder.
Oh, yeah. The game is called Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, and I chose this game because it has it raises a couple ethical questions that we could discuss today, and these questions will pop up as we play, as Thomas will play. Yeah. Are you guys ready to start?
Yeah. If you have any issues with audio levels and stuff, just let us know.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start.
Ready.
Gonna remove the mouse.
Normal, I guess.
Why normal? Come on, go in hard mode. So is it ethical? Is it ethically correct
Oh my god, here we go.
to call
Easy.
to call something easy? Let's start with that. It's the first thing that pops up in almost every game.
Welcome to Slave Ship 909 en route to
I see why you chose this game.
You have been assessed, and any injuries sustained during your capture have been designated as non-life-threatening. Remaining journey time is estimated at 16 hours.
Assume this
If
is
you are
not us.
experiencing severe nausea or need to relieve yourself, take the great
Position beneath your feet.
Okay, so what I can see right is we're
and
slave,
a new
which is
life
okay.
awaits you.
And we're not very
Free
happy
from
about
the
it.
Well, we're really not happy
ramifications of
about
the
it.
wild.
I just want to talk over the cutscene, so I'm
Compliance
just gonna let it
will
go.
be rewarded with
60 and sustenance. Non-compliance will be rewarded with pain.
warning. Temperature critical. Structural integrity 30%.
Alert. Alert.
Hull range.
The game is from
I have no idea. Pretty old. I played it around. Grab a phone and let's do some research all together.
yeah, I think the mod that played it
2010.
played it like years ago.
2010, yeah.
It's a pretty old game, which is what I love because I totally love playing old games. I don't know.
You really have to get over that. Because I think this game is like one of those hidden gems because it didn't execute what it was trying to do as well as other games. But it's a pretty good one. It has very good storytelling. It's a little wonky mechanics-wise. Thomas has to give us some feedback.
For the controls, it looks good. It feels good. The character reminds me like of Tech.
Yeah, he's very bulky. Also, you see the blur when you like turn the camera too fast?
Oh yeah, motion.
I think that would make me a little sick.
It does.
I don't remember how.
Wait.
Okay, jump. You can turn the motion blur off if it makes anyone hear.
Prisoner loose in carriage 9! Prisoner loose!
Affirmative, slave
This person
949.
for sure did not survive.
Combat
You can turn the motion blur off if you
activating.
want. It's in the menu, I already checked that one out.
Okay. Most new games let you do this automatically without even pressing the button. Just move on. What's your?
Oh, we have a guest. She doesn't have a lot to say.
She doesn't know a lot about game design, but she knows a lot about playing. So, okay, so what do we know about this game? So far we know we are this guy, assume human, I'm not sure.
Okay, fine.
What a statement.
And we are on this slave spaceship. And there's this lady somewhere. She
Seems to have done something. She was fiddling around.
yeah, she kind of looks like this.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't free us in the process, so I already don't like her. That's the first thing.
Alert. Hull breach.
But we'll see where this goes.
Alert.
Us or anybody else.
Hull breach.
Well,
Quality.
I don't care about anyone else.
Cheating.
Let's see. I love our emotions.
Where are you going?
Gonna wait for it. Let's see.
Let's get off this thing!
Yeah, we probably won't be able to go anywhere without something breaking,
Or exploding.
or both at the same time. Okay, so what we see so far is also what also is listed are this character. And just try to check how this character You can already see it, but you can already see here like what I was referring to. Look how this person grabs onto things. Like look the stance now. The stance looks like look at our stance. It's not only very fighter, it's also very yeah. Yes. Very
I
primal.
mean, I think I know what you're referring to, but
We'll see what the game brings.
yeah.
If you see the
Wait, we'll just make the sorry for a second. We'll just make the game a little quieter. Okay, so what I was referring to is the characters' movement and pose. And I don't want to make assumptions yet, or like I don't want to make a statement yet. Let's see where this game is going. But we are on this ship. We are a slave, and we move in a very distinct way. Let's see where this is going.
I find it also cool how they like highlight the stuff you can interact with.
Yeah, I didn't even see that before with those, but it's actually nice. Yeah, so you always see where you can go.
And they have a fixed camera, like most of them.
Is the audio better now? Just asking.
Escape pods. Now you're talking.
Alright, now we have an objective.
I think you have to jump onto that.
Yeah,
height.
they both highlighted and turned the camera towards it. Right now, I didn't turn the camera towards the thing; it turned it up. Like,
I think you have to walk further up. That's nice. Or
the
I
thing
think there's
down
multiple
there is-
paths though.
let's go up first. Okay, no, up there. I can't go more up.
Okay.
Her first speed drops.
So I should read more.
I played this game, yeah, when I was like 15 or 16 or something. I borrowed it from the library actually, and I think back then I was like way too young to understand it because it popped up in my head like I think 1 or 2 years ago when I got it. And I thought about actually reading the plot, and I was like, wait a minute, actually this is all very heavy stuff.
Find this thing.
I mean,
Oh, that was very
if you
dangerous.
think about it, we are like it already tackles one of the most like not most like I'm gonna say a very ethical thematic there.
We're the slaves.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean that's the first thing, right? It's like we're a living being and we're in this cage.
B58 is assisting escaping prisoner.
Okay.
Level 1 infraction.
So clearly they're not prepared for this because nobody's running around with a weapon. Okay, we're introduced to a main part of the game here, I think. Okay, so this person just got terminated.
A number.
Apparently.
By the way.
Oh.
It didn't have a name, it was like a number that was like number 6 blah 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 terminated.
So they didn't even give names to people.
So either they're robots or they're human beings, or like, let's say, living beings, and they just refer to them by numbers and just kill them when they like, when they see fit.
What I think is always interesting is like playing these games and then thinking about these things, because if you don't study game development or game design or game studies, you just play a game, right? And like when I played this game for the first time, it was like, oh yeah, cool, I'm this guy and I climb around, and yeah, now we got our main weapon. But then like now, if we play this game or if we play any other game, we're always sitting there and we're thinking, oh okay, so how did they introduce these mechanics, like from a game design perspective? And then, oh, okay, the game's story, this is how they like portray it through the characters and through dialogues, etc. And that's something that's always like, it always changes your view of games when you study that field.
Yeah.
What I just saw, like the weapon we picked up, was this stuff, and this is I don't know what culture it is, but there is a lore about a monkey wielding such a thing, like wielding such a weapon.
Are you referring to a certain character?
No, it's not about League of Legends, because League of Legends took this character design from somewhere else, right? And it's culture, it's cultural lore. I just don't know where. It's okay. It's Chinese. Who? I can't read the name. Who's that?
One crispy cookie.
Oh, one crispy cookie. Thanks. See, but like that's what I was referring to. We move like a monkey. We also stand and fight, like climb stuff, like a monkey, right? So, and now the weapon confirms what I had previously in mind, right? See, like just by going down, even the cloth that
Yeah,
is
the
made
cloth
up,
looks
the
like-
cloth looks like a tail. So technically, we're playing as Son Goku. you can use your weapon to protect. Okay.
You have a shield.
Now press Y to unleash. Okay.
Oh my God.
Oh, Y is.
We have quick time events.
Probably just because it's hard.
I like quick time events.
Okay, so you have light and heavy.
Welcome to Dark Souls.
I have to say that the attack animation it doesn't look as heavy.
I mean, yeah, from a game design perspective, there's a lot of things that would have been done differently nowadays.
Still not active.
I think most of these things would be like very intense cutscenes. Such a game.
It's a little slow if you think about the fact that whenever you're on, like the ship is crashing,
Yeah.
and you're just like walking and looking.
There would be a lot of screen shake nowadays, I assume. Like, I think most games would just put a lot of screen shake in there and just like make it feel like the event is actually happening. Oh, this is cool. I like this. So they let you train on these robots here. Are there more coming down? If you just wait.
Oh, I think we have to kill all of them.
Oh.
That would be so funny.
That's awesome.
That's something I would do.
Ah!
Okay. Is the shield also the staff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you turn German.
Yeah, I turned
I love how you
German.
turn German for a second.
Escape pod 7 launched. 6 pods remaining.
Better get a move on.
Probably have to find one of these 6 pods.
Oh,
No, there's, yeah.
gotta be kidding me.
I wonder if it actually times you. Like if it actually gives you time to
I don't
find one of
think
those
so.
pods.
This is actually a fighting game.
Yeah.
You have combos. Where's my grab? Can I have a grab?
What I think is cool is like that the camera's always like tilted.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the camera is one thing that like
Yeah.
here shows you that you're in the ship. Right? Or I don't know if it's outside of the ship, right?
I don't remember.
But like here, this is one hint towards what is actually happening. Oh, nice. This is actually pretty cool. Like, for an old game, I have to say that. No.
2010 games are not that bad.
Yeah,
I think I have to unlock the door back.
It's actually, I think I have to go this way.
Oh, yeah, the red
There's
arrow.
an arrow.
Yay.
Have you guys actually, in the chat, have you guys actually played the game or ever heard about it? Let us know. Because I haven't seen anything about it. Like, I was lucky to have found it in the library to borrow it back then. And that's how I know about it.
You mother...
Oh, nice censorship there.
Technically, just jump on that thing. Oh no, we have to go all the way around it?
I'm assuming.
Now what?
I jump down.
I'm gonna just jump all the way down.
We have to jump around it.
I don't think your monkey powers are gonna save you.
Okay.
I'll play it on
One
the
crispy cookie played it back then.
Nice.
Back in the day.
Yeah, back
That's
in the
nice.
day. I played it on the PS3.
Lovely platformer.
But
Well, you can't even jump. You can only jump on ledges.
oh, okay. So it is like a turn. Can you jump on it?
I don't think so.
In the regular you can jump.
Not here.
Always.
Yeah.
You just missed your entire comp. Can you? You know, it would be like the best thing here to have if you could take the robots when you kill them on the last combo that you can make and throw them into other robots.
No.
That is such an epic thing to do.
I love always like the zoom at the last attack.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, this.
Someone give that animator a raise. This is wasn't
I
intent.
think I read something about it being motion captured. But I'm
Oh.
not sure if all of it is motion captured.
Okay, so back to ethics. There's not a lot we can talk about right now.
Not yet. Just
Because we still have the same amount of information.
maybe
Let's see.
flavor, and I think we
See the way
almost
how we
finished
jump
that.
from one thing to the next with one hand and everything. I don't think you can jump on over there. Pretty fun. It also literally shows you where to go with the arrows, like on the
Yeah, that
on the
and,
wings.
and camera. Like a lot of it is done with camera.
Yeah, it feels like the camera is moving along by itself.
Wait, are we on Earth? We are on Earth.
Yeah.
This is the Statue of Liberty. Okay, so we know our location now.
We're gonna crash.
It's
Really? We're gonna crash? Now you figured it out?
Took him a while. That was one escape pod, so there's
Yeah.
only 5 left. Oh, 4.
3.
3.
Oh, 9.
Nice
That's not-
countdown there.
Yeah.
the East developer.
Oh yeah, it's not a Switch controller.
I love how the pre-rendered cutscenes are worse than the cutscenes that are like that you play, or like the ones like the in-game cutscenes. What is this ship? What, like I'm trying to figure out what the ship tries to represent. From the front shape, it looks like a dragon, but I'm not sure.
Shit.
It does look like a bird or something.
I feel like there's a lot of Chinese references there.
It's a dragon.
I think it is a dragon.
Maybe. What I think is interesting so far is that right at the beginning it's mentioned that you're on a spaceship, but because of everything else that is happening, you don't even think about
Okay, you
it.
die.
Yeah.
Just wanted to check that.
Thomas!
By the way, it's a little late, but Odyssey, thanks for the follow. I can't pronounce that name, I'm sorry. One Crispy Cookie, thanks for the follow, and Delmotte, thanks for the follow.
But yeah, like they drop on you at the beginning that you're on a slave ship, but then like you have no idea what's going on and nothing else, and because of the ship crashing, you don't even think about it so far, right?
Yeah.
So like it was like you only have one goal, and it's like just continue and get off the ship, which is like what the character probably also thinks.
Yeah. So technically, we have the same goals as the character. Getting off the ship. Or trying to see if we can die, which is pretty much not what the character would do. But there's one pod left, which we can take.
Fast enough.
I need to out.
Where's the shiny thing?
That's the shame.
Oh, come on. Come on, you idiot. Move it. Come on.
Impact in 20 seconds.
This is very dangerous. I think you have to run to the pod.
Warning. Impact in 10 seconds.
Can we get into the pod in time?
Oh, look who's there.
Nah. I don't like her already.
It's like, what the fuck? Oh my god, she really does not care.
At least we got onto the pod, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is better than this, I assume.
About the jumping down.
I mean, like,
Okay, we just got a quick idea of who's living on this planet, which is Earth, but destroyed, I assume, post-apocalyptic.
pretty much.
I love the not slow-mo effect here.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that.
Okay. I mean, we survived, so she technically saved us.
Did she though?
I mean, her intentions are clear, like, she wants to save herself over everybody else, which is... I don't know. Would you guys save yourself over everybody else?
No.
Would you have opened the door?
Yeah, probably. Considering
Yeah.
how I play League of Legends, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
I also always die for
you would
others.
have given him the pod, considering how you play League of Legends. But, Thanos, would you have opened the pod?
I would have pressed the button before he got there. And if I would have seen like such a guy, I would immediately have pressed.
It's like, eject.
I can literally see stuff rendering on the guy.
He has a new accessory.
Which one?
I think it's his eyeshadow.
Oh, God, my head feels like it's ripped open.
It's the headband.
What?
The slave headband.
Oh
It
no.
won't fit on you.
Give him a slave hat then?
Yep.
This looks exactly like the thing the other guy was wearing, so I assume...
Get this thing off, or I'm gonna rip your head off.
Yeah, let me see what they're gonna say.
No.
No? You think I'm screwing with you?
Jimmy, stop!
Yeah, okay, it's the exact same thing.
Yep.
It works. Command, move away from me.
Oh. What the hell are you doing?
I hacked a slave headband, so it could be activated by my voice commands. Activation triggers a systemic pain response.
Okay.
It's what controls
Actually, did
the
all of
slaves.
that while he was like unconscious?
You can't.
I mean, she probably had a little
My
time.
heart stops beating for any reason. The headband will discharge a lethal dose.
So if she dies, he dies.
Yep.
You die.
No, she had to say the same thing that I just said.
Why?
I need your help. I come
Just
from
ask.
So wait, now she needs his help? Like, she literally didn't want him for the last 20
Slavers
minutes?
don't get me in Mech's will. That's the deal. Get me back to my home and you can go back to yours.
Okay, it stopped pretty, I assume.
Oh my god, what's wrong with the fucking pixels?
Choice.
Or the polygons?
Everything is wrong
What
with
is
us.
going
Well,
on?
I'm sorry.
Looks like he's been through a lot.
Let's go.
I love how he's like, okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, he doesn't have any other chance. I'm pretty sure he knows what those bands do because, like, he saw it before in the ship. What happened? So I assume the number that was killed, let's call it number, was
What the hell is all this stuff I can see?
was a slave as well.
I've hacked the headband to give you visual feedback. It's patched into your shield system and my biometrics.
And your voice. It's like it's inside my goddamn head.
It is. We have a continuous audio link now.
This is pretty cool, I think, because it's like an introdiegetic UI, sort of like they make it as if it's introdiegetic UI. It's like the character also sees what we're seeing.
Okay, yeah, because
of the headband.
yeah. So they technically made this UI an introdiegetic.
Yeah.
Technically.
Like,
One,
yeah,
yeah.
they said it is.
Oh yeah, we're pretty low health, I can see that. Okay, so
So yeah, summary.
So the summary is the other slave made us her slave to help her instead of just asking us, I assume.
Yep.
So she could have just asked us, but she didn't. Which is,
Is this the way out?
again, the thing like she wants to do. So we're technically just the entire game doing whatever. Like, okay, first of all, we followed her.
To look at your captor. It's like even the game was also like, yeah, she's your captor. We don't even know her name. There's no connection there. We're not supposed. We're supposed to know that, like, yeah, she has those enslaved.
Must be to keep Max out.
Ah, the title of the game.
There are some controls here.
Okay.
The other side is blocked. Can you get around and clear it?
Okay, so
It's not like I have a choice.
yes. Why is she even asking us?
Max, keep your voice down.
Okay, so Max, so the things we were fighting are robots, so
Much noise.
and there they are. Oh, at least there was a shadow. I was already ready to fight.
I don't remember exactly how much is explained about what happened in the world. I don't remember like exactly how this whole conflict happened. I only know it's like 150 years into the future.
Let me deal with this.
Okay. Okay, so now we can't run back to her, but we have to fight those. Nice.
Story in danger either way.
Like, okay. This might be a little far-fetched, but think about it. There's cages around here. Like from the first thing you saw when the fight started was these cages, like this fence. So there's the door, like the way to her is locked, and she's watching us fight those because she's not doing anything back there. So we're technically in a cage fight. I'm just saying, this is technically a cage fight, okay?
I mean, you're not wrong.
And we're her slaves, so this is all of this is wrong. Like ethically, everything here is wrong.
Get over here.
Kinda.
Yeah, and now we have to help her again. Oh wait, no, she did.
She
Wait,
teleported, yeah.
did she close the gates when she saw the mechs?
Can you move this?
I don't know, I didn't register if she did.
Neither, but if she closed, I don't like her. This
But
is
yeah, that's the thing, like from the very beginning when you see her, she ignores you when you try to get her attention to get help.
yeah.
When you're like right there on the pod, she just doesn't care at all and presses the eject button. And then when you're on the floor, she's like, I'm never gonna make it, I need your help. It's like, yeah, I also needed your help 20 minutes ago, and you didn't give me any help, and now you make me not have a choice to help you. So it's like, okay.
It's not very nice. Let's see where we can go here.
But it's like, if you play the game and don't think about it, right? Like, if you don't, like, actually go into it and try to study it and analyze it, you don't really think about it too much.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, sure, she's your captor, but it's like, it's a video game, right? You just play it, you go along with it. Which is like, which was my first playthrough, I was like, okay, yeah, she's cool looking, I guess, and I'm like a cool monkey dude, and I play a video game, right? But like, if you sit down and analyze it,
My head and I can break your neck.
there's a lot more going on.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah. I'm not gonna talk over the cutscene.
That's where the slave ship came down. First thing we're gonna do is head for that.
So we have to head towards
My
that slave
ride
ship.
survived the crash.
What's your ride?
It's the only way I know how to cover 300 miles. 2 wheels and an engine.
Wow, that was totally. Wow, that was bad.
There must have been thousands of people.
No, like, okay, no, you say what you're saying.
And just like okay, we talked about her, but like if you look at us,
Wonder what happened to her.
okay, it's not like we have like our character has a lot of choice, but immediately when she was like, I need your help, I need to get to my hometown because I'm not gonna make it by myself, it's like, okay.
I mean, he wasn't immediately, but
He
like, I
was.
think he knew he has no choice.
Maybe he gave into that because of that, but also
He looks like a friendly guy. Let's say it
I'm
like
pretty
that.
sure if she would have helped me at the beginning, he would have been
I can't.
Yeah.
Do as I say.
Wow, she's so helpful. She has been the.
Find a way to take him out.
The thing is, we're just in this world for like about 20 minutes.
And everything tries to kill us already.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why we like everyone reacted as they reacted, because they don't trust anyone.
Maybe.
That could be, yeah. But it seems like he is like, because he wants to help her, right? It's not like he sees her, he sees this thing, and he tries to maybe get her shot or whatever, right? So he can be free. Oh no, he can't. If he dies, if she dies, he dies. Never mind. No, it's like, but he seems pretty pretty helpful. Like he seems like a friendly person, let's say it like that. Also,
But
your
it might
shield.
also be, it might also be that his goal is basically just like get the mission done, get the headband off, because he already accepted the fate, I guess.
I'm not sure if this is something. So like the game didn't tell us anything about our character, right? So far, right? We just see those things by just looking at that stuff around us. And what I saw before in the cutscene, also right now we can see it very well. We have a lot of scars, and we are also very good at fighting, right? Our character immediately is very good at fighting, which is some games immediately throw you into this. Okay, you're already super powerful, and you just have to figure out where you have to go. In other games make it the other way around. It's like, okay, you know where you have to go, but you're weak and you have to grow.
If we are gonna get through this,
And
Wait.
then when I ask you to do something, you need to do it immediately.
Okay. I understand.
He's
that
a
was-
little surprised that he actually managed to do this.
yeah, that was a word of. Like he finally gave her what she deserves because she doesn't deserve to be treated nicely. No. Wait, where was I going? Oh yeah, we can see that we have a lot of scars, right? So we already know how to fight, and that's like the feeling the game gives us. So we are like that's also, for example, Thomas was just straight up running towards the enemy that seemed dangerous from the cutscene, but he knew that we're a strong character, right? We can handle this from our previous or prior knowledge about our character. And also to refer back to what Maria said before. Oh hi, who joined? I can read the name.
Sokota.
Oh, hi Sokota. So, what I wanted to say is that usually you just play a game, as Maria said before, right? But when we do game study things like we do right now, we play the game and we try to find as many things as possible that could possibly or potentially hint towards the things that we think are in the story or convey the feelings and stuff like that. So that's stuff we learn at university, and we also try to just practice, and we do it a lot. Like once you start it, you don't stop. Trust me. You can't play a game anymore. No, it's actually pretty fun.
So I don't know if you were explaining stuff. I don't know if you noticed, but basically now we can give her commands.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Which is pretty ironic, because, you know, like, he showed some character, he got a little upset with her, and now you have the, it's like it's a mechanic that will tell her what to do and where to go. So technically, she's your captor, but you're giving her commands.
I mean, you're technically her guardian.
Yeah, exactly, and by doing this, it makes the player actually care for her.
Yeah.
Which, is this a Stockholm syndrome thing?
I mean, yes.
Which
no,
I found
don't
out
know.
recently was, excuse my language, but bullshit. Look it up. There was not enough research done to make up that thing. Anyway,
EMP people.
I got super upset when I found this out.
And access small mechs for a few seconds.
But yeah,
have to give me a
so
chance
like,
to get away.
she's your captor, and but you're telling her what to do, and she's technically useless without
There
you,
must be
right?
live power cells
Like,
around
but
here.
sure, she can hack things, but she's not gonna get very far with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, did you just hack that thing?
Yeah.
Because, okay, that's all she did. Okay. No, what I think also is, what's happening here is that, because you said you think that the game wants you to care for her.
And that's the thing. That's like if basically
Oh God,
it's like the whole it's like the whole you're caring for a child because it's someone helpless, and this is exactly what the game does with her.
What I have the feeling here that happens here is more of a you try to survive kind of thing, because you can.
Yeah, distract them, and then I have to tutor them.
Okay, I see. Well, because what could be like what my feeling here is that they try to do is they try to make you feel like the character, which is okay. You have to save her in order to survive. I think this is also some kind of try to survive kind of mechanic here.
But yeah, what I also think they want a kind of dynamic, because you have this buff character who can just run straight across to enemies and kill them. And then you have if you want to try, and then you have this weak lady that you have to protect, that you have to try, like, get to the next point, because, for example, here, we cannot just, like, walk straight, right? He probably can just walk straight here, right, without problem, but she can't. So we have to find a way to still, like, get to the point.
Wait,
Can I just run over
we
here?
have an interesting comment. I have played this game from an American cultural perspective. The game has several problematic messages that I would very much like to know the problematic messages.
I mean,
because I don't remember enough
one of
about
them
it.
is already like if you look at it, one of them is already like we are the slave, and like we are a slave. That's already one thing that I can think of in American culture, right? Yeah. Yeah. Then the other ones I don't see. Like I don't see any other ones yet.
I can tell you one.
Okay.
We have the weak female character.
Okay, but is that American?
No,
Is that American
no.
culture?
I
Right.
was just talking about problematic in general.
I mean, yeah, it's this classical gaming tropes with the weak, the damsel in distress, if you want to call it like that. I mean, the term has been used like since forever, but we have this character that is. I think you have to call.
Nah, I already called.
Okay, yeah. So the thing is, she is very much helpless, and we as the buff man have to help her go through this thing, right?
We're not in the clear yet.
It's like it's like, you know, like male characters use their muscles, female characters, right?
I wish it were the other way around.
But yeah, we don't have to go into this session. It's more about games.
I mean, this is also
Yeah,
a
of
question,
course.
right? If to use this or not.
But yeah, I would. Yeah, an American perspective, I have no idea.
I can't crack the door. There's no
Except
cover.
Okay.
From a logical perspective,
leave
this is also kind
I'll
of
take out those mechs.
weird, because we just say hey and they just don't care about a woman just thing.
They have to make the game easy somehow. Not everyone makes Dark Souls
It's
games.
silly robots.
Robots.
She can't get there because they're shooting.
I think you have to run to the. Okay, that's why. I think you have to run to the other side or jump down there.
Yeah, I think you go down there. Hang up.
Oh, we go straight up.
My decoy is behaving.
Cheeseburgers in it.
And we don't know if there's cheeseburgers or not,
I
right?
mean, yeah, there might be later. Sounds like we might die.
No, we don't.
Oh.
Come on, you guys.
Beep, 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 beep.
I'm pressing B.
Run faster.
Oh no, I made loud noises and now Phoebe died.
So whenever we make loud, excited noises, she gets super excited, and she's very excited most of the time. Phoebe, also want to play the game?
I have like 2 HP.
Okay, wait.
That's more than enough.
I'm trying to read what's on the other side of the screen. On the thing, in the comment
Yeah,
section.
it's slavery. Slave is a white character whose dress background is not here. Oh, I see, yeah.
I see. Okay, that's very smart actually. Yeah. I didn't see through that one though. Okay, we can also. I don't know if we can also talk a little bit about the fact that like that we don't know anything about the world yet, and how that does also like again apply to the player's knowledge, because this game has works a lot with we don't know, like we as players don't know what our avatar knows, which in this case our avatar is let's call him Monkey Guy. I'm just gonna call him Wukong. If anyone plays League of Legends, they're gonna get the reference. Okay, I think they couldn't have a different skin color on this, because then it would probably not be accepted very well by people. Because in the chat they say, like,
Yeah.
what if it were a different skin color? I think if that were the case, the game would have gotten a lot of a bigger backlash on that one. I mean, so far, let's say like so far, I like how they tackle this, because they say, okay, how would you react in a world where there's obviously a lot of slaves, because the ship was huge and it was a ship to transport slaves, right? And where she sees the necessity to enslave you in order to achieve her goals, right? Mm-hmm. Because if this, like, we don't know any background about this, right? So I'm just making assumptions, but think about the fact that she was a slave, and yet she enslaves you instead of working together with you, right? To achieve her own goals.
Yeah, very.
Which is like, is the world not as dangerous as it seems right now? Is it only the robots that are this bad, and being a slave means something completely different in this game? And that's something we still have to uncover, right?
And that's the thing, like, basically, yeah, she's using one evil for her own benefit, like, because she's obviously doesn't want to be a slave, which is why she escaped, but then she enslaved you, keep herself alive, is, from a virtual ethics point of view, not very good, because it's selfish, and this is like one, not a virtue, right? Say the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad thing to do. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind.
Why are we collecting those orbs, by the way?
Probably currency.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay.
What is it?
See where this is going. This is our first boss fight. Do we have boss fights in this game?
I think, yeah.
Road ahead's mined. I need to find another way.
I think I might be able to do something.
You wanna try it out?
Pull me.
I would have to go through the tutorial again. I already tried to play before, but it's a lot of buttons, and I don't want to just fiddle around.
See the dragonflies? I need you to catch one.
What the hell are you talking about?
I'm not commanding you. I'm asking you.
Well,
No.
you didn't. No, you didn't. She literally did
She
not
said
ask
I need
us.
you to catch
Range is
one.
pretty high.
She didn't use the brain thing.
You have to press the buttons that is prompted to you.
Like she's literally like taking away
If you
your
lift me up,
freedom
maybe I
of
can drop
choice.
it down for you.
What would happen? Like, would you like what would happen if you would say no? How would she react?
That's the thing.
What do you think? How she would
Because
react?
we as a player also
Oh,
don't have
okay.
the choice to say no.
Yeah, we don't have the choice. I would love to have a choice here to see to just unfold more of her character, because we don't know a lot about her, and that's okay.
Roll her.
We have to pick her up.
Yep.
And throw her.
This is also a mechanic that you would carry her around for a lot of times. Because she's like, you know, like this is the safest way to try to make sure that she stays alive.
You want me
Yeah.
to catch one of these
Which is also like another way of making it care more for her, because you literally
might be
carry her
difficult.
around.
Yeah.
Frighten easily and they're quick.
So why do we have to carry her? Why can't we just lift her up
There's
onto
one.
that ledge there?
Right there. I'll put it on your display.
Oh, we have slavery. That.
Okay, someone read the chat. You guys should switch positions, I think, so you can read the chat.
Actually,
okay.
yeah.
We find this out 1 hour into the stream, or like 50 minutes into the stream. No, also, since usual game labs are only
It's right over there.
2 hours long, and we also have another tutor teaching afterwards, like hosting a stream afterwards. Will be done in around 10 minutes. So we'll switch to another stream in 10 minutes, which we will host, so you guys can also see what's going on there. And I'm not certain what they're gonna play. I think they're in the chat. So I think Florian is gonna play. Florian is gonna play Nier Automata, or
I don't know.
no, it's not Nier Automata. It's something else. I think they play something else. But yeah, we'll see. Like we'll host the stream afterwards, just so you guys know. We're, like in 10 minutes, we'll be done. So we'll stop in like 5 minutes and make our assumptions on where we think this is going, and talk a little bit about ethics again.
Yeah, we have actually.
Oh, Graveyard Keeper.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't remember. I'm sorry. I just remembered something about Nier Automata because I know that game.
Okay, read real quick. Socrates said that basically one way oppression works is that it makes oppressed people their way out of slavery is to become the oppressed.
Oh yeah, that's also
basically
yeah.
being free means become a slave master instead of free everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically part, right?
That is.
It's kind of problematic.
That reminds me a lot about about this series I watched about Spartacus. Not Spartacus. Well, Spartacus. No, it was not the gladiator.
The movie?
No, I think it's
I used to play with
the same.
dragonflies.
I think-
Oh, it's the same character, but
It's the
there's
same
a show
character,
and
yeah.
there's a movie.
Yeah. So I'm talking about the show. So technically, what he does is he is a gladiator. He tries to free people,
Sniff out energy sources.
like his other gladiators. And after he's free, after they're all free, there's another one which was there since the beginning. And his way was always to kill and to enslave the people that enslave them, right?
Okay.
Which does, if you think about it, does not make them better than what they try to fight.
Yeah.
So you become what you try to fight, and I think that makes it a lot worse than what if they would just free them and then free themselves and do whatever they have to do to be free. But then live a better example.
That's the thing about
We completely missed the butterfly thing, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't know what this is doing.
but that's fine. Because we're not gonna get very much further into the game, I think. But we're not gonna get to the ending. But I'm not gonna spoil it.
It has a
But
camera setting and a sensor setting.
it has also a lot to do about freeing the people, or like about what we just talked. I think this would also be like something very interesting about this.
Also, the username I cannot pronounce. Otters in
Otterinosois?
yeah.
Yeah.
The climbing stuff, yeah.
Almost.
The climbing, like if you think about it in terms of gameplay, like you can continue playing, by the way. If you think about it in terms of gameplay, all you do is fight and climb. Like fight and solve puzzles, like jump and run
You
puzzles,
should
right?
be able to see the mines on your head.
So, oh, there's mines. Oh, that's what the dragonflies do. They detect mines. Okay, yeah. So, in terms of gameplay,
What do you think?
you have this
Pretty cool, huh?
fighting where you have to protect her and you have to just like kill the enemies, and these climbing stuff is just intermediate sequences that try to teach you story. Like try to because we didn't have story elements in between fighting scenes, right? Whereas other games like for example Dark Souls, they give you story elements within fighting scenes as well, just by how the enemies behave, how they fight, and also how they react to different, let's say, items and stuff.
Yeah, no, so far we didn't have any items, right? Except for like the health potions and the currency working out.
We also don't that. We also, by the way, we have a shield. I don't know if that's the shield that we hold.
On top is the shield, and on the bottom is the health.
Yeah, but like, is the shield the one that we hold,
No,
or is it like armor?
There's an armor body shield, and the one that we hold is this, and it gets red.
Yeah,
and then
okay.
it breaks.
Okay.
I can't see the mines.
But if you don't,
Only I can see the mines because I have this headband.
Where's she?
she's somewhere behind there. She went somewhere.
Oh yeah. She's so camouflaged.
Hey, yeah,
That's
I was
why
right. I
please.
didn't see her either.
Just pick her up and go. Nice.
By the way, throwing doesn't do anything.
You
Like
roll
the-
now? No.
Hey! I need you to carry me.
Okay, why do you have to carry her? She can literally just walk
She
behind
can't
you.
see the mines.
Yeah, but she can just walk behind you, right? You can see them.
Yeah, but that wouldn't make you care as much about her. You have to pick her up.
The thing is, the game tries its best to make the situation look kinda not so
Bad?
bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
But have you noticed the red flowers everywhere? Also, like everything is like there's a lot of green right now, right? But if you look, there's a lot of red, and these red plants.
Wait a minute.
Like red is usually a color of danger, right? So
We should do another scan.
why did they try to use the red plants here? Is it just an aesthetic thing, or is it
They're mines.
danger thing? Like
It's
is
like
it
what
because
you're
it's a
actually
dangerous
doing is
thing?
bad.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Also, we on the yellow sign we saw something about stop the war.
Oh, I didn't see that right now.
Because there was a yellow sign which said stop the war. Always read all the signs. You get a lot of plot out of that.
Oh,
Or Easter eggs.
it's also an evocative visual. The slave master mounting the slave. Oh, damn. Okay.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
actually,
Oh.
yes, like a horse, pretty
Yeah.
much.
That's a lot of wow.
So
Thanks for joining the stream and helping us talking
Seriously.
about these things. Okay. Yeah, we have 3 minutes left. I'd say we just wrap up the things now.
yeah,
Okay. We can just sit on this rock. So, okay. So, first of all, let's talk about the ethics here. What do you guys think was the best, not the best, like
Well-
what was displayed or like conveyed by the game in the best, like in terms of ethics? I was confused by Thomas running into your mind.
vengeance.
Okay, now, what do you guys think was the best, like, ethical thing that they showed here?
Oh, also the chat.
You guys, but everyone else in the chat. I mean.
Well, as we talked or so far, it's just that like what her actions, because like usually the avatar is what is supposed to like show the player the world, like through the avatar we're supposed to see the world and then like connect with it. And it's basically her, right? Like because our character, whose name we don't even know yet, her name we don't even know yet, has only like had interactions with her. The other person name was a number, died, just, I don't know why, because we talked to them, and all we have is her, and what she's doing is basically a bad thing to us, right? So, so it's a very unfortunate world, and it's not very, to put it very nicely, it's your character doesn't have a choice on what they're doing, and don't have time to question it because the game is happening and you don't have a choice to ask about it. The character, like ask questions to her. So yeah, I think that's something very interesting.
What I think one of the most interesting things here is that I don't think a lot of games do is trying to make you care, like right away. A lot of games try to make you care for the enemy in the long run, right? But here, she immediately, like, to me, she seems like our enemy, right? That we just have to take care of in order to survive. So the game makes us care about our enemy right away, and tries to give us the feeling, or tries to make us bond with her in a way, like what you said. And I find this very interesting that like they try to do this and like immediate. So you care. They try to make you care for someone you actually wouldn't care about.
And without giving like any kind of backstory, because we don't know anything about them. Normally in games, like, you know, those have a backstory together, they are like friends, or they know
I mean,
each
not
other.
all of them, right? But like...
Yeah, but many of them do that.
Or like they bicker, but then like they have to work together to survive. It's like, no, she literally has the
Yeah.
power over you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can spoiler the next
Don't.
lap.
Let's let people play it again. We don't
Okay,
want to spoil
well,
it. Like,
yeah,
if everyone
that's
wants to
true.
play it again, they can play it.
That's very true. But like, there's so much more coming, which is like a little sad that we can't talk about that.
Okay,
Uh,
so
that's,
let's just read the chat for a second.
Odyssey, so I hope I probably butchered that. It's like a romantic relationship. The woman subordinating the guy and to make
It's like this. It's like this. It's like this old scheme of he has to work. He has to do the bits for her in order to like he's manipulating in this case.
Plenty of ethical issues. The one we talked about making the character reminds me of Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, exactly. The Stockholm syndrome is what Maria also mentioned before. So you are forced in this case, in this scenario, you're forced to care about your oppressor, right? In this case,
Captor.
Captor.
Because that's what the game.
That's what they call her. Yeah, captor. Exactly. Let's use those words. And yeah, it's kind of interesting what the game does here, and I'm looking forward to find out what happens here. We're probably not going to play this game on the next stream, but just for everyone here in the chat also, we're going to do these streams on a weekly basis for the next month to see how it goes. We're going to do game streams, like we're going to stream games and talk about them and discuss them in not only ethics, we have different topics coming up. And we post those topics on our Twitter, which is GSEAAU. If I see that right, can you check that out real quick? Okay, we'll just post a handle afterwards real quick. And yeah, so now we have the stream of Florian, which is gonna play Graveyard Keeper. So we're gonna host them and yeah, have a nice day. And the Twitter handle, I'm gonna post it in the chat real quick, is Games AAU. Okay, wait, can I post it? Yeah, okay, so it's Games AAU. Feel free to check it out and have a nice day/week and stay safe, everyone.
Yes, stay healthy.
Okay, so like Maria, Simon, and Thomas, I am one of the GSE students and also a tutor for the Critical Game Lab. And essentially, we're just here to continue dealing with games and ethics, and I'm trying to do a little bit of a different game. I actually struggled initially to find a good game that I could play that isn't like very long-winded, and I mean, technically I have a lot of games on my PlayStation 4 that I could use for this, but most of them sort of take ages to get to the point where you can really talk about this. And I just remembered that I actually had Graveyard Keeper at some point, and it's sort of like, it's one of those, it's like Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley. So essentially it's a simulator where you have to take care of your chores and things like that, but instead of like running a farm, in this case you actually have to take care of a graveyard. And I think it's an interesting twist on things, because basically the thing that you have to deal with the most is dead bodies, and you have to think of what you have to do with them, how to deal with them, how to keep your graveyard running, how to make money and things like that. So it's kind of like an interesting thing to look at from an ethical perspective, because basically you're dealing with dead bodies all the time. So let's just dig right in. I already started up the game simply because the loading time takes ages, so I just started with a new game here. So basically the game starts up and it just shows you a few screens and you don't really know what's going on. The best you can probably tell is that you're doing your shopping, that you have a wife or a girlfriend, and all of a sudden you die or whatever, and then you're confronted with this black figure that might as well be death. And that figure just basically drags you through your new home, the graveyard. And you don't really know what's going on. So really, as you can see here, the figure basically just tells me that I'm now the graveyard keeper, and it's like I have no choice but to do this. And then the first thing he then tells me is that I have to dig up someone. And then you're basically thrown into this world and you don't really know what's going on. And the first task that you get is you need to find your friend Gary. So as you can see, this is sort of like the quest menu where you see the characters you've interacted with and quests that are going on. And basically your quest is simply to go back home into the real world, and the first thing you should do to sort of get there is to find Gary. So this is basically the place that you're supposed to live now, so it's like a very tiny shack, and it looks pretty run down, so there isn't much that you can do. So basically the best you can do right now is just to follow that yellow arrow and dig up whoever Gary is. No, Gary sadly is not a snail. Gary is just a talking skull. So it seems like Gary himself doesn't remember too much either, which isn't good since he's supposed to be the one helping us to actually get away from there. And this is then the next character that we meet. This is actually one of the more important ones, because this sort of gives us the things to work with. In this case, it's a donkey that runs from the city, I think, towards the graveyard all of the time, and just dumps bodies for you to work with. Yes, essentially it's Stardew Valley on a graveyard. That's very much true. And hi there, Dragon Soul. And as you can see here, he actually addresses you as comrade. This is kind of like, I believe the donkey is trying to signify communism or whatever, I'm not quite sure, maybe socialism. So there's always like these weird puns in this game where it makes references to a capitalist culture and things like that. And the donkey managed to drag the corpse along before he left. It's like currently you do not yet have to pay for the bodies or anything. The donkey just does it and delivers the bodies to you, but at some point this actually changes and there's going to be like a tiny box here by the road where you actually have to put carrots in, otherwise the donkey won't bring you any more bodies, and that essentially means so essentially you have to pay him if you want to work. So, and the first thing then we have to do is go to the morgue and look at the body. It's also kind of funny how the game just doesn't give you any choices, just how the story plays along. It's basically like, here's the body, put it on the table, cut it open. Why not? And here it actually gets even weirder, because you're actually going to use the meat that you get from the body to make money. So essentially you're using dead bodies and feeding it to other people. Like, over the course of the game you'll actually find more body parts, like I believe the bones, brain, fat, the bowels or something like that, so you can actually remove quite a lot of body parts. But for now we can only use the flesh. And as you can see, this can actually then be used for cooking, so you can burger, sandwiches, or just baked meat with it. So you're really using the things that you delivered. And now you can also take a look at the graveyard, which is pretty run down at the moment. There's like no graves or anything here, just shrubbery and trees. The church itself also doesn't look very nice. And then you have like a few old graves that are also pretty run down, and you can actually look at the graves, so you can look at the condition. There's also an option to actually exhume the bodies, so you can remove them, because as you can see on screen there's also a rating system with red and white skulls. Essentially what you want to do is have graves that only have white skulls on them because of the rating. The higher the rating the better is your graveyard essentially. I think what's also interesting about this game is that almost nobody in the world has any more issues with anything. Yes, that's very much true. It's like you essentially have a lot of stock characters that pretty much represent one stereotype, and the characters just really stick to their role, and there's no questioning whatsoever. So the people just do the role that they're assigned and only act upon that. And I think it's kind of interesting that you as the player then, but also as the avatar, you just get thrown into this world, and you're probably the only one who actually questions this. Like the things that are going on, maybe the donkey aside, but then again, the best he can do is carry bodies, so that's also very limited. basically decide where I want to put the grave. And as you can see, an open grave actually obviously has a worse rating, so just digging a hole into the ground doesn't make your graveyard any better. And this is just another character that you get introduced to. So he's essentially, I believe he's representing the people from the city that's a little bit south to the town that we could frequent. And he basically gives you tasks, so he sort of just decides to task you with taking care of the church and making it look good again, because this will in turn make him look better. So he's kind of like a vain character. It's I don't really understand what has been going on here. Like, it sounded like the graveyard has been unattended for 30 years or whatever. Then all of a sudden you come along, get forced into that role, and then hey, you have to fix this now. And you are then essentially also further forced into the role that you were assigned as you entered this world. So essentially all that I have to do is please him, just make things look good. I think in my initial playthrough I had around 300 or something stars, or whatever you want to call them. So there's quite a lot of improvement that is going on, and at some point the improvement really revolves around simply digging up the corpses that make your graveyard look bad and taking care of them in some way or fashion, and then try to produce good looking corpses and just fill them into those holes. Okay, that's about everything I can do with him for now. Now this is the point where I can sort of start essentially the running my graveyard, running my farm and whatever, and start to gather resources. Does the game have an ending? I haven't played through it yet, but the end goal is actually to leave this world again. So that's sort of like your main quest that you have to do, and I believe after that it actually ends. But it takes very long to actually get to the point where you can do that. I've probably sunk in about, I don't know, 50-60 hours into this game and I'm still not done. It is, yes, it is very grindy. I mean, even if you play Harvest Moon and things like that, you get to the point where you just do the same thing over and over again, and it gets boring if there's like no incentive. I mean, even if I technically could reach some sort of ending, I just got tired of it at some point. Oh yeah, I've seen this. There's like 2 DLCs, I believe. One is I forgot what they're called. I think one it's like you can run a mine or something and actually reanimate bodies and make them do tasks for you rather than doing them yourself, like chopping down trees, gathering stones, things like that. But on the other hand, I believe there's also a lot of cut content in this game that simply isn't there for, I don't know, whatever design decision. For instance, there used to be a plan that you could go into the city, but nowadays you can't anymore. There is still a quest line that runs that gives you access to the city. But the only thing that happens if you move towards the town, you're struck by lightning and wake up back in your house, and that's about it. So they essentially just removed that, and people apparently weren't too happy about that. Yeah, so got the graveyard a little bit more cleaned up, and now we're just at minus 10 points. So essentially it's like 15 more points before you can be appointed. And this is the Witch Hill. I'm not sure if we'll get to the point where we can open that. Essentially it's a place for amusement, or whatever you want to call it, for the townsfolk. Basically there's a pyre up there where they burn witches or other convicts. It's a very good question whether or not you're dead. It would make sense that you're dead. I think the way that the intro cutscene plays out is that you were hit by a car or something. That's what it felt like to me, what it was hinting at. So this might actually just be like an afterlife. I don't know, something like that. And no, Maria, you sadly you can't customize your character. You'll always look like this. So this is the bar where you can do shopping and talk with at least some of the characters for now. Yes, you probably go to another afterlife. I mean, essentially, maybe this is just what purgatory looks like before you actually go into heaven or hell. So essentially you do the same thing as you would do in real life, just work, earn money and try to survive. I really wonder how they actually dealt with the bodies before the graveyard keeper was there. And I really wonder what they mean by this ancient contract. It's like there's some sort of force that makes you spend money. Okay, so we can give him the burial certificate. And there's also an option to actually trade the meat that we just got from the dead body. The problem with that is you actually need a stamp for the meat in order to make it genuine. So you need the royal stamp from the city, I think. So essentially what you're then doing is you just put a stamp on the meat and all of a sudden it's good for the people to eat. Yes, you can also cook the meat. You can slice it for burgers and whatever. Towards later in the game, there's actually the option to like host a snack stand on the witch hill, so you can actually sell food while you're watching a witch being burned, which is quite interesting. So my option for getting a stamp to sell meat is then to actually ask a thief. So essentially I'm getting an illegal stamp to sell illegal meat. Is there even the possibility to play with honor? I don't know, I don't think you can. I mean, essentially you're forced to work with bodies and just, you know, deal with it because you have no other choice, because essentially it's a way that keeps you going, it feeds you, it keeps you alive, and you want to get home, so you're forced into that position and you just have no choice. And especially also since it's like the main mechanic of the game that you actually have to work with dead bodies in somewhat sketchy ways sometimes. I'm not even sure if the question of honor would pop up in that sense. Why does my character have a voice? I don't really know. I wonder if that's a design decision or if that actually has some sort of deeper meaning. So, as you can see, I'm already being turned into this sort of errand guy that just does whatever the people need doing. Now I'm already out of energy, how nice. Can't even fulfill the simplest task, it seems. I think the only option I actually have at this point is... Oh no, I was given potions, so I can actually do that. Yes, it would actually be very interesting if you could have your own play styles in here, because this way it's really like it's totally streamlining, and you just don't have any choice on what to do. So you're just following one quest after another and just do the same thing all over again. There's very little variety, which is kind of sad. Yes, that's very true. I mean, the game would definitely have much more potential if you could just choose what you want to do. I mean, this way it kind of feels like they just snapped a lot of things in that you have in other farming simulators like Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon. It's just they put a lot of things in, and but nothing feels like really special because you just kind of have to juggle doing everything anyway. I'm really thinking if Gary maybe is the former graveyard keeper that's essentially just been waiting for me to dig him back up. So yeah, once we know how to do beer, we can actually bribe Gary into telling us how to get back home. It's kind of weird to think that all the quests that you have to do for the people, it kind of shows like that none of them is acting altruistically, because they always want something in return if you want help from them. And that's, I think he was called Snake. That's the guy we can get the stem from. But we can't even get there at the moment. Not that snake. Yes, that's actually very funny. That's true. I'm not doing a lot of graveyarding, but it kind of depends on I think where you are in the story and what your your micro goals are. I remember sort of spending a significant amount of time on essentially min-maxing the graveyard. Like trying to dig up all the old bodies that have been there that give me a bad rating, and then essentially gambling with a donkey trying to get good bodies and only burying those on the graveyard. There you essentially have your next stock character. So yeah, this is what I talked about. This kind of like this puts a little story on the min-maxing of your graveyard. There are bodies with bad rating on there, and if you want to succeed, you actually have to get rid of them. And yeah, like he's basically just asking me to dump a body into a river, which is quite questionable in itself. But it's one way of getting rid of bodies that you don't want here. But again, actually, if you want to dig up a body, you have to buy a permission to do so. He was talking about the one in the lower right. wonder if it really matters which body you dig up and dump into a river. So yeah, that's how you get rid of unpleasant bodies. This is kind of a funny situation. It's like, this is the only thing I can do anyway. I just do the things that people ask of me. Now this skull is sort of trying to teach me about morals in a way which is really weird. That's actually quite interesting when you think of it. The bodies come from the town, and when you dump them into the river, they probably just run back there. Sure if I can actually talk to the ghost again or if he just disappeared. Yeah, this place is a crematorium where you can burn bodies, which is another way to get rid of bodies in general, or especially if you have like unpleasant bodies that you don't want, you can just burn them here rather than burying them on the graveyard, which is at least a little bit more ethical than just dumping them into the river. Okay, no, the ghost is not here. Let's see if we can actually get the graveyard a little better. Sadly, this is kind of where the grindy part already begins. You basically just get thrown into this thing, and from then on it's really just trying to get the graveyard better right away, and like for that you have to do all these silly tasks like chopping down trees, building repair kits and things like that. Yes, it gets very tedious at some point, because the amount of resources that you need to gather in order to get like the best gravestones and the best frames and things like that it can take hours, and you're running in between managing your stamina, so you're farming food for that, you're chopping down trees, you're chopping you're mining stone and things like that, and you really just run across the map all the time and try to sort of just improve your graveyard along the way, and it really takes hours sometimes. To get this any better. Yes, the late game is very much about min-maxing all the time. I think I remember I pretty much had my graveyard full of graves, and then you could unlock things like statues and memorial places where you can put urns in, but they took up much more space, so I simply ended up digging up all the bodies again, because the memorials would just give you more points, but they also needed more space. Once you get into the later game, when you can remove more organs from the body, it's kind of it's like randomly assigned where the red skulls sit and where the white skulls sit. So it's really like about you have to pick the right body part and remove them, and hope that the rating goes up without you damaging the body too much. And if you remove the wrong body part, you can actually just take that same body part and put it back in. I don't even think it has to be from the same dead body. It's just about putting the body part back in, and then try and see if you can get the rating back up again. But sometimes you end up damaging the body, and then that's completely wasted. I can already... Oh yeah, you can also slice the meat. I think that's how it works, how you can start cooking with these things. Also then when you have the stamp, I think you first slice the meat and then you just put it in some fancy wrapper, and all of a sudden it's good to sell. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. So he's basically explaining me how the rating system works. there still seem to be some glitches in the text. Yeah, that's actually very true, that grinding isn't necessarily bad, but I feel like at least with this game, essentially grinding is the only thing that you do, and that in itself is, I don't know, I just don't feel like it's very well balanced. Oh yeah, you also have a garden here. This is sort of a farm where you can put vegetables. No, I don't think the the layout is random. You mean like these frames, or do you mean the farm itself? No, it always looks like this. Yeah, this is like the skill tree where you can sort of improve yourself in like being more of a surgeon rather than a butcher, basically. So you learn how to screw up bodies less and less and get better at removing the things. I believe later in the game you also get like things like injections you can put into the body to preserve them or to increase the rating. Okay, since we've got about 5 minutes left, I guess we could wrap up a little. I think initially I really picked the game because it's kind of interesting, like to see the ethical issues of simply being thrown into this world and then having to do something which, in a way, I mean, being a graveyard isn't a graveyard keeper isn't necessarily questionable, but the fact that you're just forced into this role, and that you then also have to make these maybe capitalistically driven decisions about whether a body is good or bad, and I find that quite questionable in the sense that those are actually human beings that you're dealing with, but the way that you treat them really is just capital. And I think that's maybe one of the main points I feel this game really wants to bring across, maybe like the unethical parts of capitalism. And yeah, as you can see, the donkey is sort of kind of like the counterweight to that by being from a left-wing stable. So yeah, that's probably one of the more critical characters of all of them, but then again he's actually totally oblivious to him really being this critical character. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that this game is like, is it a good game maybe from an ethical perspective, but also from game design perspective? Okay, there are similarities to the Darkest Dungeon. Sadly, I haven't played that game yet, but yes, I think maybe this is a general criticism. I mean, there's always like this. I mean, essentially, you can also quantify a human body like this organ is worth this much and that organ is worth that much. It's just, it simply feels wrong to do that with any kind of living being, to just quantify them and see them as some sort of dollar sign or whatever. And yeah, that's very true. Like destroying the dead's peace in a way. It's like these people are already resting, and you just end up digging them up for essentially for your purpose. If you want to go home, you have to make the graveyard look good, and if you want to make it look good, you maybe just have to dump a few bodies into the river, like for your own agenda. Just the quest thing that is really weird. It's like I think the pacing is also not very good. It's like from the beginning on, essentially you have your end goal, which is to get back home, and from there on it's just, you know, grind essentially. There are a few quests that you obviously have to do if you want to get there, but in between these quests, all that you really do is just grind about, and I feel like in a way I mean, it's good that there is a lot of freedom in this game, but then again, a little bit more hand holding would be nice, because essentially you're just left with like a lot of characters and a lot of loose ends to tie up, and it feels very cluttered. And taking out the flesh just actually made the body worse. So I wonder what happens if I try to stick it back in. See, that actually improved the rating again. Yes, that's very true, that there's like a lot of things you can do, and it would actually be better to have like a small amount of things. This is really like, I feel like there's like a lot of mechanics just slapped in there to maybe have the game feel fuller or whatever. And I'm not really sure how helpful that actually is to have so many things to do when essentially you should be taking care of a graveyard, and you kind of just end up being a jack of all trades, especially with the dungeon crawling in the end. That dungeon is super stupid. It's, I believe it's like 15 or 20 levels or something that you just go through once and then it's empty, I think. Then again, on the positive side, at least, I think the art style is very beautiful. It at least feels like there's a lot of care that went into producing the graphics. So that's sort of my positive takeaway from this, that at least on an aesthetic level, I find this very pleasing. I mean, yeah, it's not super bad, but still, for some reason I more enjoyed games like Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon, even though you're essentially doing the same thing there, but I don't know, it feels more polished or like more thought has been put into things, but maybe that's just me being very subjective on the topic there. Yeah, so if there are no more questions or comments, then I would suggest we stop playing now, because essentially I think I showed you a good portion of what this game has to offer all the way through, and I think from this point onwards it would just be us grinding to try and get the graveyard back to good health, and I think that would be very boring. So we'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for being here. So looking forward to seeing you guys again there, and thanks again for watching.